You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Breaking the Fourth Wall. Today I am joined by a very special guest to myself. He does something that I am longing to do, which would be the acting of voices. Today I'm joined by Kennedy Phillips. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I hope you're having a good day as well.
Busy day, but definitely a good day. I can't deny that. Hopefully you aren't too stressed out today with everything you've got going on.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit going on right now. I'm actually a sound designer by trade, so a lot of my day job involves me handling a lot of big projects. I've got a really big one on my hands right now, and I'm absolutely ecstatic to be working on it. But I can't go into too much detail about it at the moment. It's not Magus Elgar related or like my own audio show or anything like that, but
Mhm.
it's supposed to be coming out sometime next month, I hope.
Okay, that's cool. Well, you just kind of touched on it. The first thing that we like to do on Breaking the Fourth Wall is have the guests kind of tell maybe, what they're most noted for or what you feel like you would be most recognized. And you just kind of briefly said it there for a second. So I'll ask the question formally. What is your, largest accomplishment, you think?
Well, right now, well, first off, greetings. My name is Kennedy Phillips. I'm a sound designer, video editor, voice actor, and Foley artist by trade. A man of many hats, considering that the work is sparse best of times. But the thing that I'm most noted for, I imagine, would be I had worked on Draw My Dream with DreamWorks TV.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I worked on Amaterasu, which is a short film done by the Jim Henson Company. I
Nice,
am the
nice.
creator of Magus Elgar, which is an audio drama of my creation. And currently, I am the sound designer for a little pilot that's coming up very soon called Has Been Hotel.
That is a lot to have on somebody's plate.
Yeah.
Those aren't just a lot of hats. Those are very large hats, I imagine. I personally have seen and listened to Magus Elgar, and I really enjoy that. I recommend everybody checking it out for sure. At the end of the show, maybe you can tell everybody where to go to, get their hands on it, get their ears on it, and
Yeah,
hear what's
I,
going on.
I could tell them a little about it if you like.
Yeah, sure. That would be great.
Okay, so Magus Elgar is a fantasy comedy inspired by the works of Terry Pratchett, the man who made Discworld and Good Omens. Think Lord of the Rings written by Monty Python. It's about two magi in the magical world of Hearth, where they discover a brand new form of magic completely unknown to them from the dimension of Earth called science. In order to better understand it, they travel there and accidentally blow up the house of a quantum scientist's laboratory, and all of his tools end up in the magical world of Hearth and take on magical properties. So they team up together with the scientists to find ways to diffuse them before they rip all of reality apart, or at least before people find out it was their fault.
And if that doesn't intrigue you to go listen to it, like I don't know what will. It's highly, highly entertaining. Right from the get go, you can kind of tell the tone that this whole thing is gonna go on. It launches straight into it. So kind of talking about everything that you've done from sound designing and voice acting and doing all these little projects and stuff. What kind of led you down this road? What made you want to do this?
Well, when I was a very young lad of only a few years old, my parents had come and approached me and told me, "Child, what do you wish to be when you grow up?" I looked at the television, and at the time, I believe Muppet Babies was playing, and I saw the episode with Kermit the Frog wanting to be a taxi driver, and I said, "I want to do that." That lasted about 15 seconds before a little bit later, where I looked at and just pointed at the TV again during where it showed the Nickelodeon logo and says, "I want to do that." Thus was my journey to begin to become a filmmaker of some kind. And
Nice.
I focused on that almost exclusively my entire life. When I was 12, I made short films, most of which were mystery and intrigue surrounding my dog as a private investigator, hard boiled, of course. Um, in high school, I started learning how to edit, and I made music videos, most notably of using Linkin Park because, of course, I was that kind of basic. Um, and when I got to college, I started making audio dramas for fun because a friend of mine had introduced me to an audio drama called Professor Nebulous, which was made by Mark Gatiss and Nicholas Briggs, who you might know Nicholas Briggs as the voice of the Daleks in Doctor Who.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was a parody of Doctor Who, and I fell in love with it. And it compelled me to make my own, even though it wasn't that great. Because, first 2 years of college, you're still trying to understand who you are as a person, let alone what kind of skills you'll have. By the time I got out of my master's degree in film production over at Chapman University, I decided that I wanted to go back into audio dramas because now I had a new shiny set of skills and professional equipment that I can get this off the ground with. And the rest was history.
That's awesome. That's cool that you kind of knew that right from the start and you went for it, instead of most kids, like myself, who were extremely wishy washy and at 37 still don't know what they want to do with their lives. So it sounds like throughout this entire trip, you've kind of had a singular goal in mind. You've kind of chased after it. So did you have a lot of support within your family?
I really did. My parents are both home health nurses and have been wrestling with the medical industry for all their lives, trying to make sure that everybody got the proper care that they deserved. And the one conclusion that my parents both had about this was that they didn't want me to have to struggle in the same way they do.
Mm.
So they're both their sets of their parents were not like quite on board with a lot of the stuff that they did in the past. So they gave me a lot of support. They encouraged me to do my thing, encouraged me to chase after all of this stuff. And don't get me wrong, there were limits to chasing the dream that it would have. Like when I first released Magus Elgar, the audio drama, my father didn't quite understand what it is that I had for the show, and he was under the impression that like this is a waste of time. You need to go do something else, something more productive, or you need to start pursuing a bigger version of this project before it gets too stale. He was worried it was going to wallow in obscurity or something like that. But then we ended up getting nominated for Best Original Work, for Best Writing, Best Sound Design, and his tone changed considerably.
Oh,
But I want to make it clear, like they were always in massive support for me, and I cannot be more grateful. And they weren't the only ones. I had all of my roommates, people who lived with me, my colleagues, would bounce ideas off of me, encourage me, help me get into areas that I needed to be to make this a reality. Um, some even pitched in a little bit for when I was feeling financially strapped, trying to get this thing off the ground.
that's awesome. That's great to have people in your corner like that, though. Like, that's really, really cool. So, you know, you've kind of done a little bit of both sides of animation area kind of stuff. So, my question to you now would be, do you prefer to do the sound editing over the voice work or vice versa?
I find both to be inseparable in a lot of cases.
Oh, okay.
Uh, a lot of the things with my sound design is that I tend to make a lot of noises with my mouth. and use like some aspects of my voice to provide effects and other things like that. So when I'm doing the sound design, I always have my microphone really close to me, so that if I needed to make some kind of noise that would fit the scenario or something like that, I would always be ready to do it. But also, like, there's extras and other voice characters that need to be taken care of, and we don't have the time to do anything like that. So I just pop in my own voice or something to get it out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, I could understand that. You can't do the voice of everybody, right?
No, no, of course not.
So
But
what
there's
would, in this crazy day and age with all the insane stuff that they put on television these days, which, you know, from the sounds of it, you probably don't have a lot of time for, but in the off chance that you do, what would you say your favorite cartoon is right now?
my favorite cartoon right now. I mean, there's been a couple of cartoons that have been really big way back in the day that I was a huge fan of. I would say that I've been raised on. I grew up with Don Bluth cartoons. All Dogs Go to Heaven, The Secret of Nim, Rockadoodle.
Yeah.
If I'll freely admit, I enjoyed pretty much all of his repertoire, and I really enjoyed the maturity that he would bring to some of these stories, even as a kid. Um, but I would say as of recent, like probably one of the shows that really hit me the hardest, that really got to me and got me really excited, was Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And there, of course, there are a couple of other contenders coming off, like recently Infinity Train, which was this very cute series that explored some very dark tones about like family separation, of like going through a kid going through a divorce.
Yeah,
Um,
see, I saw the commercials for it, but I was never actually able to see it. So,
it's
maybe I'll
because
give
it's a
it a
mini
look.
series. You'd probably have to look somewhere all over the place. I've been
Okay.
going through Young Justice right now, which the third season takes this very surprisingly mature direction where they're just not afraid to kill people
Oh
in,
wow.
in really brutal ways. One of the first episodes, there's like blood strewn across the wall where like these two political figures had been assassinated, and like a lot of the tone, like you could definitely tell that they're gearing much towards college students for such a thing. Like it's definitely a drama more than just a kids show.
That's actually pretty surprising. Actually, it seems like it's not a common thing to deal with those kind of things in a cartoon unless it's an anime or something.
Yeah, like it's kind of astonishing because with Young Justice, I can tell you there's at least three separate instances where a character just grabs someone by the neck and snaps it, like without like pulling away or censoring it, just full death on screen.
Wow.
It's just nuts.
I think I
And
might have just found
I
my new
find it
show to
oddly
binge watch.
refreshing. But like I that's the one thing that I really appreciate about the medium for cartoons, is that there's such a wide range of things nowadays that like now people in my generation are the ones making all the drawings,
I
and
see.
they're coming up with fascinating ways to tell new stories in ways that 10, 15 years ago would never have been approved by a committee.
Right. Yeah, they would have. That's way too violent. You can't do that.
I mean, of course, they found ways to get around it back in the day, like Rocco's Modern Life and Animaniacs come to mind.
Yeah. Yep.
Now the trick,
Which
the trick is, kid, you gotta make sure that you put in the raunchy jokes first, so that the lesser raunchy ones can get under their noses.
so true. Um, so obviously, listening to your shows, you're very good at the sound editing and dealing with how everything sounds and is put together, and you're good with voices, as we've heard a couple times so far. So those are obviously what you're very good at. Anybody would be able to kind of see these things and be like, "Oh, yep, that's what he's good at." So my question now is, do you have anything that people wouldn't suspect you were good at?
Well, something that they'd be actually surprised about is something that I do pretty frequently is I actually do a lot of role playing.
Okay.
Mostly I run RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons, Savage Worlds, Pathfinder, and all of those things. I run these games and I try to bring a unique perspective about them in that I actually improv a lot of these games because they're a great way for me to practice my voice acting, my world building, and ultimately my storytelling chops. Because I feel that it would be more accurate to identify myself as a storyteller first and foremost because I write stories, I tell tales based on anecdotes of my life, whether they be exaggerated or not. Um, but there's not really any one medium that I stick very closely to. I try doing all of it. Like right now, I'm editing a feature length film. I'm sound designing a cartoon. I'm writing an audio drama, and I'm also writing about 3 or 4 different RPGs that maybe at one point in my life I'd like to broadcast as a story for something else. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
That would be cool. I would love to hear more of your voices in other scenarios, like in a D&D setting and things like that, which, we may end up actually getting to. I think some stuff is in the works for that, but I don't want to give away any secrets just yet. So, moving along my list here of random questions that I would like to ask you. This next one, it's kind of a thinking question, unless maybe you wear it on your sleeve or so to speak. So, what would be the funniest joke that you know by heart?
Okay, so like I wouldn't say the funniest joke that I have at the moment, but it is one that I've been really enjoying lately. Uh, I hearken this back to the days of The Simpsons, back when they were really good. I had stopped watching them around season 8, and that's when they changed hands, they changed writers, and Matt Groening wasn't working on it anymore. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
stopped watching it, but then someone encouraged me to go back and watch some more episodes. And in season 10, there's an episode where the Simpsons go to Japan. And I picked up on this joke that I never in a million years would have picked up had I not gone to college. um, it's a line where Marge says, "Well, Homer, I think you'll like Japan, don't you said that you really enjoyed Rashomon," and Homer responds, "That's not how I remember it." If you're not familiar with Rashomon, it's an Akira Kurosawa film about a murder mystery done in feudal Japan, done in like ancient feudal Japan, where the whole story is about unreliable narrators, about people just telling their own versions of the story, and nobody gets it right because nobody remembers the story right.
I see. Okay.
It's just, I'm like, wow, I never would have picked up on that had I not known this.
That's awesome. See, yeah, it's good to have obscure information. It pays off sometimes.
Alternatively, I could also go on the other side where there was a joke from Invader Zim way back when, where it's such a non sequitur that you have to think about it for a moment when you hear it. And it's Zim is working on some guy, and he's walking around on these giant little spider legs, like coming from his backpack.
Right.
And he's talking to Gurr, who's like actually questioning his orders. And Zim looks back at him and says, "You dare tell me what I already know?" And Gurr's like, "Did you know that?" "Of course your legs are stupid." And he walks off. And I'm like, oh yeah, because he's on spider legs right now.
Yeah. Oh man, Invader Zim. That show finished.
Have you seen the movie yet, by the way?
I did. I actually went through, watched the movie. Again, another thing that I highly recommend to everybody. That really, it was quite entertaining.
I think that the what do you call it? The Professor Membrane joke, not scientifically possible, is turned into a meme.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole, it was nice to have some small form of closure from that. That was good movie.
If you want to call it closure.
Right. Oh man.
Because I'm pretty sure that show's had like the entire cast get killed at some point or another, in one way or some or another. I think there was an episode where like Zim and Dib become just two sentient slabs of baloney.
Yeah, I do believe that was an episode. Oh, jeez. So, you talk about all this stuff that you have going on and things that you have to do, and I'm just curious, after you put in your hours and you've gone through and ran your paces, what do you do to unwind at the end of it all?
Well, I have some groups that I get together with to play games. Video games mostly would be my thing, but I haven't had nearly as much time as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I've got a lot of really ambitious projects on my belt, and I need to spend every waking moment thinking about them and hyperventilating about them.
Yeah, that's
um,
understandable.
I mean, I play a lot of video games on my own. I play some group games with some friends. Like I'm going through, what is it, Odin Sphere right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Um, and for like multiplayer games, I'm playing Monster Hunter World and like the story mode of Fortnite, which is absolutely astonishing because the writing in that is surprisingly good. Dare I say it's where Borderlands 3 should be, but is not.
Ah, one will never know.
Now,
I've seen
Borderlands
a
3 had a
lot of
change,
mixed
right?
reviews on BL3, so.
Well, a lot again. Like I hear it's a fantastic game. I hear that it's very well done. Like the gameplay is fantastic. It's just the writing isn't there, and the villains are very aggravating.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that really baffles me is that when you come up with a villain that just isn't enjoyable to be around. Because when I came up with three to four villains for Magus Elgar,
Mm-hmm.
and each of them have different ends of the spectrum. There's one where I'm just not taking myself seriously, and there's one where I'm actually trying to explore something a little more complex.
Oh, okay.
Because with Got Iron Ball and with Minister Doubletrike and his bodyguard Got Iron Ball, they're just like Saturday morning cartoon villains. They're just a foil that people can really enjoy getting behind, and their banter is always kind of amusing.
Right.
But then I've got Victus, who's this very serious character who has lost a great deal of people close to him due to the collateral damage of magic, and is seeking retribution, and basically saying like humanity doesn't have the wherewithal or the responsibility to be gifted with such a dangerous thing.
Bum bum bum.
I mean, it's all very like Legend of Korra or other shows of that kind of caliber, or
Right.
just the man was not meant to have such power and all that stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes for a good villain. You can kind of almost sympathize with them a little bit.
Yeah, like I really love villains where their argument is they do have a leg to stand on. It's just their measures or the methodology is not something you have to approve of. Not to say that like villains that are just comically over the top don't have a place in this world. They absolutely do, and I love every second of them.
Uh-huh.
Like no one can tell you that they don't enjoy listening to, what is it, Lord Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, because he's just so comically over the top villainous and is just totally shameless about it. And it's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, you get you're sitting there, you're like, oh man, like I hate that character, but you can't help but listen. It's like, yeah, I love to hate that person.
Yeah, sometimes you enjoy complex villains that have that challenge your own understanding of morality, and then sometimes you want somebody to be like, "I'm going to crash this oil tanker into the beach to teach the sea lions a lesson."
That's perfect. Well, that actually leads me into another question I have for you. What is your best impression?
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, I've done tons of voices of other things, and like when I get into characters, I end up having a blast just taking aspects of voices that I know I can do and toying around with them. Probably one example was when I was playing around with trying to do a Stitch voice. I ended up discovering the voice that would eventually become Magus Sagari in Magus Elgar, where it's a little bit up in this region. It's almost like if Stitch got a PhD.
And that's awesome. Because now I can't get the image out of my mind of Stitch walking around with a stethoscope and a doctor's coat and
Adjusts his glasses.
yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good, man. So we're coming up to the end of the show here. I try to keep them around 30 minutes because I know that time is extremely valuable for everybody these days. But especially more so for my guests that are on here. So I would like to take these last few minutes here just to let you go and say where anybody can go to find more of you, more of your voices, your work, just anything like that.
Well, if you want to see more of my work, you can always visit kennedyphillips.org. That's Kennedy like the president, Phillips like the screwdriver.org. And you can see samples of my editing work, my sound design work, my voice actory nonsense, among other things. But if you really want to listen to Magus Elgar, if you visit maguselgar.com, MAGUSELGAR.com, you can listen to all the episodes, which are now available for free. They're available on Spotify, iTunes, wherever pods are cast. You can also go to our YouTube page, where we have trailers explaining various aspects of the Planetane of Hearth. And we also have an animated short on there to showcase a little bit of what a cartoon would look like if we ever got that off the ground. I really hope that you decide to take a listen to Magus Elgar. We have all the episodes available right now. So go listen to it. You've probably got lots of time to kill, so a half hour is probably not going to kill you. I also would posit to those who are listening to this, if you can listen to the first 5 minutes of the first episode, I promise you'll enjoy the rest. Just
Beautiful.
give it at least that.
Beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself. That really, that's it. You listen to the beginning, and I guarantee you'll be hooked. It's great. So, again, I just want to say one last time, thank you so much, Kennedy, for coming on the show. Letting me pick your brain a little bit, ask you the hard-hitting questions that everybody wants to know.
Absolutely.
And,
well,
and with that, I can let you go to finish up what you need to do.
I got 2 more things I wanted to share if you got a sec.
Oh, absolutely. Go for it.
For those of you who are local to the Southern California area, in Orange, there's going to be an event called Stellar, which is a Raw Artists Festival where I'm going to be showcasing Magus Elgar and showing off some posters. It's October 16th from 7 p.m. to about 10 p.m. I'll give you the link to where you can pick that up to go. I'll also be attending Podtails, which will be in Massachusetts. I forget what university it's at, but there's also if you go to podtails.org, I think it is. They have an event showcasing tons of podcasts on October 20th.
Yeah, I believe they do. Yeah, October 20th. where Cambridge University, I think.
Yeah, Cambridge University. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. That looks to be a good time. I'm planning on getting there, so definitely check it out. The website and see who all the podcasters go on. It's good. It looks like it's going to be a really great time.
It'll be a hoot.
Again, thank you one last time, Kennedy. I appreciate you being here, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Breaking the Fourth Wall. Thanks, and see you later. That's it for today's show, ladies, gentlemen, and anything around or in between. Another great interview. Remember, I'm Ray, and this has been Breaking the Fourth Wall. Check me out at Chronicles of the Lost Realm on YouTube, Anchor, and Instagram. I can also be found on War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Become a Patreon to help us provide even more content and quality entertainment for you. All of our shows can be found on Anchor.fm or wherever podcasts can be heard. Breaking the Fourth Wall is a Realm of the Mist affiliate.